Hello, I'm Becky Dowd, and this is The Journey to Salvation. Join me as we walk alongside real people and hear the unique journeys that led them to faith in Jesus. Today, my guest is Morgan McClanahan. Hey, Morgan.
Hey, Miss Becky. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Thank you for coming in today and sharing your story.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited. I'm glad to be here.
So, Morgan, I've known you for a long time because you're the same age as my oldest daughter. And growing up, y'all played softball in league. And I think your dad actually was the coach one or 2 years for y'all.
I think you coached too, didn't you?
I did coach.
Yeah,
I guess you would call it coaching.
Yeah, I thought so.
But and then I know you now, but I don't really know the story in between there. So would you just kind of share your story with us today?
Absolutely. I'd love to share. And God gets all the glory. So I'm 35. I'm married with 5 kids. I'm married to Alex McClanahan. I grew up here in Wynn. My family, they're from Forest City, but we moved to Wynn right as I was starting kindergarten. My mom, she was a single mom for a while. My grandma, she helped raise me. When I was 5, my mom married my stepdad, BJ May, which he is my dad in my eyes. My biological dad, really, he's not been in the picture. And I struggled with that at a young age because there was a little bit of trauma there from them divorcing when I was really young and just experiencing some things through that I carried on to even into adulthood. But so, I obviously loved softball, had a love for that at a very young age. My parents didn't go to church when I was growing up. My grandma always took me to church.
This is your mom's mom?
Yes, this was my mom's mom. Her name is Belinda. And I called her my B. She always took me to church. Anytime she was able to get me there. At about the age of 12, 13, roughly, my parents adopted my 3 brothers. And I was not very happy about that, I don't think, because I've been the only child for so long. I feel like I was a little jealous, probably. Yeah. Some rebellion started creeping in. I kind of, was like trying to get attention, I think, in any kind of way possible. Attention from boys. Attention from my parents, that kind of thing. I started using drugs and alcohol at a young age. I think I probably had my first sip of alcohol willingly on my own at like 11, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's
really young.
It is. And so I started playing traveling softball. And I thought maybe at first, that would kind of keep me occupied, but really I was really drawn after I had the first drink, of doing something that I wasn't supposed to do. I think I really had the need, I guess you could say, that I wanted to do that. A lot of rebellion. And so all the way into high school, I resorted back to drugs and alcohol at any point that I could. And a lot of attention from guys, honestly. There's a lot of sexual things that I struggled with too, as well. When I was 17, it was, I think, my junior year of high school, I had a knee injury playing softball. And it was the year we won state, and I didn't get to actually play in that last game, and I was not too happy about that. But so I ended up having ACL surgery. I tore my ACL. They rebuilt it. And I really became addicted to pain pills after that. Anything that I could probably use to alter my state of mind, I was definitely doing that. And
were your parents aware of this?
They would I think they had inklings sometimes, but I think they wanted to see the best of me and tried to, and at this time, my stepdad was actually struggling with his own addiction. So I think my mom was really preoccupied with raising young boys, right, younger than me, than dealing with me as a teenager and with her husband,
Right.
So, I graduated high school. I got an offer to play college ball. And so I took that offer. Went to Conway. I went to Central Baptist College. And when I was there, I actually ended up getting addicted to methamphetamines. And because previously before that, I was using like Adderall, you know, anything to do that. And so I started using methamphetamines, and I became in the darkest place. I mean, it took me in the most darkest place I've ever been in my life, honestly. I couldn't function without it. I threw away everything. I left college. I quit speaking to my family. All of it. And I had gotten to know the Lord. I say that when I was in high school. But at this point, I had shut everything out. And my parents were in church at this time. My mom was praying for me. She had gotten to the point where she was praying for me. My grandma was praying for me. And I remember I lived in this house where I was using at. And my grandma would come and knock on that door every day. I mean, I can almost pinpoint when she was coming. And she would say, Morgan K. That's always what she called me. She never just called me Morgan. She would say, Morgan K., I know you're in there. I know you hear me. And you know God does not want this for you. And I would just sit at the door. And I'd listen to her. And I'd walk away. I was ashamed to look her in the face. But, so I finally hit rock bottom several months later. I had nothing but the clothes on my back. I think I lost my shoes at some point. I had nowhere to live. Someone had got me a hotel room, and I walked out, and I was walking down the road. Someone called my parents, and they came and got me. Now, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go with them. But I got in the car fighting. And I slept on my parents' floor, their tile floor, for 2 days. And it was like while I was sleeping, I was in this trance almost. And I felt God was talking to me. I can't remember all that he was saying to me during that time, but I know he was trying to get a hold of me. And at the end of it, I was like, all right, Lord, if you want me here, if you want to use me, then show me something. Let's do it. So they send me to Hardy, and I actually went and lived with my biological dad at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was interesting because I'd never really been around him. But they didn't know where else to send me. And they knew I had to get away, that I couldn't stay here. And so I go and I enroll in cosmetology school. I'd always wanted to do hair. All through my whole life, I'd always done everybody's hair. If we were together, I was probably doing their hair. And so I enrolled in cosmetology school, was going through sobriety, going through counseling, going through medical treatment too, because I was going through withdrawals. So I had to go through a lot of process through that. And I dealt with severe anxiety after being addicted to all those things too. So that, I had to deal with that as well. Now I was angry with God. So during this time, I was not going to church. I didn't want anything to do with him getting sober. And I know that's, most people turn to him during that, but I did not. I was still mad. Anyway, so I graduate cosmetology school and I moved back. And Mom had been big in church, and she's like, all right, you're moving back. You going to church with me? And I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I really, liked what I was hearing. And I started, talking to him again and started trying to build that relationship with him. I previously loved singing praise and worship when I was a kid, and I started singing praise and worship again. And it was a great time in my life. And so I'm doing that and I'm serving, but I'm still sinning. I'm still privately, fornication, that kind of thing. I still have my struggles at home that, I was dealing with. I wasn't using, drugs, but I would still drink a little alcohol sometimes, and I was committing fornication. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of all this, I ended up meeting my husband. It was 2013. I had a big business doing hair. I met him. And when I met him, I was like, okay, there's something different. Like I instantly felt like this was a man I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with. And he felt that way too. He had a little girl. She's 5 months old. Her name's Lily. And about 8 months later, we got married. And we were going to church together. We were doing all the things, trying to seek the Lord. We really felt like we had given our life to him, but we had not given everything. There were still some private things that we were dealing with. And so we have Lily. We get married. Learning to be a stepmom was different too, which I say I'm a bonus mom because I don't like the word step. I don't use that with my dad either, but because I feel like we still are a parent in their life, you know. And there was some things there that I had to learn. I had to learn to love so that she wouldn't, you know, feel any different, and I never treated her any differently. Right. And anyways, after that, we ended up having our son in 2014. We stopped kind of going to church during this time. You know, we had a baby and we kind of just started missing. And then it slowly got worse where we were like backsliding, you know, we were back drinking, kind of, you know, here and there. And not that I condemn anybody for that, but that was something that I can't do. I can't do anything that opens the door at all.
Right. For any drugs or anything.
I can't do any of that. And so
you said you also had some postpartum depression too?
Yes. So I had some major postpartum depressions, especially. So we had Isaiah. I struggled with it a little bit. And so I would work. I would try to overcompensate by working, and I would do it that way. But then, let's see, in 2016, we had our second son together. And after that, it became even worse. It was very bad after that. And I sought medical treatment after that, but I was very depressed. I was very, very depressed. Fought suicidal thoughts, all that. I mean, it was a dark, dark time. And we started kind of going to church again during that because I felt like, all right, well, I've tried all this other medical stuff. Let's try God.
Yeah. Let's give him a try.
Yeah, let's give him a try.
Sometimes he's our last resort,
right?
When he should be our
first resort. But I was still mad at him deep down. I was still mad, and
you were mad at him because of the things in your childhood.
Yes,
your biological dad.
It really resorted back to that because I struggled with looking at God like a father figure because I was like, well, this man, he helped bring me into this earth. Like, he's rejected me. God's going to reject me. Look at all that I've done.
Yeah. And
so I struggled with that exact thing. And I felt like I had to work to earn God's love. And so we had another son a year later in 2017, Hutch. And during that pregnancy, my grandmother that had prayed for me my whole life, she passed away. And I struggled with that and I really became angry with God after that because I felt like this woman has prayed me out of the depths of hell and you take her. It's like, I watched her my whole life. She'd get up every morning, 4:00 in the morning. She'd pray. She'd do her devotional. She'd get ready, but she never got ready in the morning without God. She was so dedicated to him and his word. I was like, how are you going to take this woman, because she died from cancer in a 3-month period of time. How are you going to take this woman that is word for you like this? And so I was angry with him. I went through all the stages of grief, but I stayed at anger. And so I was doing everything but living for him at this point. I was mean to people. And that's not who I am.
Yeah.
But I was, because I was so mad on the inside of me. There was so much anger going on. And we had tried going to church because I wanted the kids to be in church. Even though I was angry, I wanted them in church because I knew that they needed that. Right. Even if I had not received it fully, I knew they needed it. Because that's what my grandma had showed me. She was like, this is what you need to do. And so I felt like I was failing her and failing the Lord by not having them in church. But we would backslide every time something would happen. You get offended and we'd be gone, And anyways, fast forward to 2022. Alex has a major motorcycle wreck. He's on his way to work. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. They're calling me. He's on the side of the road. That was my greatest fear, actually, of him riding a motorcycle was, don't you leave me with these 4 kids. And I get to the med. I mean, he had a head injury. Part of his head was like sunk in and it shifted his brain. He had broken ribs, torn his fingernails off, toenails off. Wow. All road rash. It was bad. It was scary. It was very traumatic. And I'm looking at this man laying there and I was just like, why, God? And there I go again. Why, God? Mm-hmm. And so Mom, she wanted to go to the cafeteria. She was like, you need to get out of here and breathe for a minute. So we go to the cafeteria and she's in there and I step out to the hallway and I'm breaking down in the hallway because I realized that I never prayed. I was like, this is the first time in my life I've never prayed to, for God to help me. And I'm telling God, I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all that I've done to you. I'm sorry because Alex don't deserve this. He's a good man. And I had this storm, and I feel like this is the storm that I dealt with my whole life. There was a storm going on inside of me. And I always think of Jesus when he's walking on the water and Peter's out there, and he's telling the storm to be still. And he's telling Peter to walk to him. And, that's where I was. I was not trusting him. I wasn't walking. And I was sinking. And this man walks up to me out of nowhere. He said, ma'am, can I pray for you? I said, yeah. I needed someone to pray for me at that time. Because I couldn't pray for myself. Or for anyone else. And he prays for me. And it's like at that moment, everything just is still. And it's like I could feel God for the first time. And I couldn't tell you when. Probably the first time ever. I could feel him. And it was like he was there with me. And the man, he prays. We finish praying. And he starts walking away. And Mom's walking out of the cafeteria. I said, Mom, this man just prayed for me. She's like, Morgan, what man are you talking about? There's no man. And in that moment, I knew. And I wasn't using drugs or anything because people are like, Morgan, are you sure? I'm like, I'm telling you right then, I had such a supernatural encounter with the living God that my life will never be the same, nor will my family's. He knew that I had to encounter something real because I didn't trust that he was real. I read all the stories, but I didn't know that he was really real. And, anyways, so after that, Alex had some major injuries that they really thought that they were going to have to fix surgically and that he would have a long recovery. But I watched God supernaturally heal him. And medically, they couldn't explain it. Like his skin grew back that they couldn't explain that he needed skin grafts for him, but he didn't have to have any of that. And so he had experienced God's touch, and we both knew that we would not ever live like we lived before. So we start talking to God. We start seeking where we're supposed to be. in a church because we're like, we got to get planted somewhere and we can't go nowhere else. Like, we got to get planted and stay there. And so we finally found where we felt called by Holy Spirit to be at. Marion at Dominion World Outreach. Our pastor is Dr. Sharon Nesbitt, and she has walked with us through some of the darkest, hardest times, learning to be faithful followers of Christ. And anyways, we really, we honestly were struggling in our marriage too before this happened, and it drew us closer together. It did. And we found not just a church. I mean, we found a home, and I really believe that anyone that is coming into Christ, they need that. They need a community that they can get plugged into, because you need people that have been through all walks of life to help you go through different areas with Christ. And so during this 4-year period, after his wreck, God actually had me surrender my haircut business to him, because he needed me to focus on getting to know him. Because I didn't really know God. I knew about God, but I didn't know God for myself. And that was hard, going down to one income with 4 kids. We had to learn to trust him.
And you loved your job.
I loved my job. I was actually kind of a little arrogant and prideful when it came to my job, but I loved it. I loved doing hair. And I loved the people. But I had become so bitter on the inside that I was not enjoying my job anymore, and it wasn't for the people anymore. And so I surrendered that to him, and I've spent all this time getting to know God and actually changing from the inside out, because that's where he's got to start. He's got to start on the inside and cleaning that up, and the rest will come with that. But so I've recently God has allowed me to go back to doing hair, and it's been totally different, because I had to learn to live in the world but not be of the world, because I'm not from the world. And it has had its challenges, but I'm so grateful for that experience with him. And really the whole thing to my story is, and it's not my story, it's God's story, is that I've had to learn to take the grave clothes off of me and to live like Christ lived, because he didn't just stay in the grave. He got up. And I would always stop at salvation and didn't go forth. But I've had to learn how to be sanctified. I'm not there yet, but I'm learning. It's an everyday process, and learning to live with Holy Spirit.
Yes, because we don't just surrender our life to him and then that's over with. No, we continue walking with him. And as we continue to walk, we grow closer to him every day.
Yeah.
And that's what you were kind of, the way y'all were before. You were kind of just going to church, doing religion, checking the box off, without really having that close, intimate relationship with the Lord.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
We knew religion. We didn't know God.
Yeah. There's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And honestly, it don't matter where you go as long as you know him and you don't just know the religion.
Right.
And so it was a big change when you really get to know him.
Yes. So Morgan, what Bible verses do you use to encourage you and to help you?
So the one that I've always clinged to, probably the last 4 years that I've clinged to, is that Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, because I never looked at him like someone that could protect me. And when it says your rod and your staff, they comfort me, it's like I can feel him all around me. I never knew that he could be that comfort for me, because I didn't know what it was like to feel shielded as a young girl having a father there. Now, my stepdaddy came in and he was, but as a baby, you know, at that young stage, and getting to know God as my shepherd has been life-changing, because he's everything that I've ever searched for. The void that I ever try to fill, he is all of that, all into one. And I really do relate myself a lot to the woman with the issue of blood. I go back to that because I felt like for so long I was bleeding, and God knew I was bleeding. He was just waiting on me to come to him. And I had to try so hard just to get to the hem of his garment. And it was in the matter of just that one touch that I've forever been changed. I will never be the same. And, you know, if me saying that to people and telling people my story just changes one person and has them relook at things differently, and it points back to him, then it's been worth every single thing that I've been through. Because ultimately, that's what it's about, getting people to him.
Thank you for joining us today. New episodes release every Wednesday, so be sure to subscribe and get notified when a new episode is available. You can listen on the Journey to Salvation website, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. So, where are you on your journey to salvation?